Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and we have a brand new breakdown for you today. It's going to be on the Prefontaine Classic, and we'll start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab.
Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become.
All right, so we are going to be breaking down the 100-meter for the both women and men. And by the way, sorry for the delay in getting this to you. I was out of town this weekend and, just didn't end up getting a good time, a good situation that I felt would be right to be able to go through a breakdown of such an important race, of such an important event. We had Trayvon Bromell win. We had Elaine Thompson win. Both of them looked great. Both of them ready to win a world championship. I wish I would have done a prediction because I was going to say I predict that Sha'Carri Richardson would end up being in the top 3. That was, to me, where I was going to be. I know there's a lot of people that were thinking that she was going to get, beat again. To me, based off of her 11:27 and some of the things that she was doing from a technical perspective, I thought that she was going to be able to hold her own, and surely enough, she did. So awesome that she went to, ended up coming in second. I'm super excited to be able to see that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and hop into it here. I'm going to start with Trayvon Bromell because, again, we just have another example, and we're going to go, let's do, it's a little bit after this, to be honest. Let's say 9.7, right? We're going to go 5.97 here when his foot comes off the ground, and then down at 1.67, right? So that is, again, just a phenomenal under 0.2 seconds from when his back foot touches the ground to when it hits the ground, right? And we can see Christian Coleman's in that same area, right? And we could also see, look at all the top guys, Fred Kerley, Christian Coleman, Trayvon Bromell. See how there's that lateral bend, that lateral shift? You could see it a lot in Christian Coleman where his head is like right over his knee, right? And that's important, being able to understand how we're using the lateral motion of our body to help get the momentum to get going straight ahead, right? Because what happens with these guys, right, Trayvon Bromell especially, right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay? So they're so disciplined with their first 7 steps, right? Where you could see, somebody like a Andre DeGrasse here, right, he's still in the air, he's too far behind at the end of the day, right? Noah Lyles, too far behind that early, right? Because then what happens is that now they're getting to their top speed, and yeah, Noah Lyles was able to catch him later on, right? So you can see where he ends up trying to make up ground, but at the end of the day, right, the start was what made this the race that it did. Trayvon Bromell just gets such a great start, and Christian Coleman was in the race because he also has such a great start. That's what was really the allure of this race, was these guys that are just so great at starting. Who would be the better guy, right? Who would win this with their starts? And you could see Trayvon Bromell just killed it with his start. Let's see, some of the things with his foot contact. We're a little bit early here, but we're going to say 8.0 just to see, and he's already off the ground by 0.9. Right, so some of these things, and look at how straight he is when his legs hit in the ground. Right, so this is what ends up being so important, being able to get that foot through. This is where, when I first started with looking at speed, how to develop speed. How can I get faster? This is when I was running 16 miles an hour. Now I've gotten up to 22. I'm consistently running in like the 20, 21 miles an hour on my curve treadmill. When it comes to, when I get my free lap, it's saying, somewhere in like the 22 mile an hour range, high 22, low 23s, right? Because it's a little bit different with the curve treadmill in comparison to, when you do like the free lap timing system. But anyway, when I first started, this is when I was looking at Trayvon Bromell when he was at Baylor, and it taught me so much about how top speed should be. So beautiful. And, if you've been following these videos, been watching these videos, you know how big of a fan I am of Trayvon Bromell. And, this is the reason why, because it's so clean, right? You can see him and how he's running in comparison to even Christian Coleman, right? Where Christian Coleman's a lot more on the outside part of his feet, right? His arms are a little bit more all over the place, right? It's a little bit different of a running where Trayvon Bromell is just so clean, gets that extension, comes right back underneath. In terms of time spent off of the ground, we'll go 0.07 to 0.20, right? 0.13. Like the timing of all of this is just so perfect. It's exactly what we talk about. Sub 0.1 with the foot contact time, right? We're at a 0.13 time off the ground, right? So he's spending less time with his feet on the ground than with his feet off the ground, right? So he's floating, right? 0.13 seconds off the ground, okay? Less than 0.1 foot contact time, foot on the ground, okay? Cycling the leg so cleanly, right? Pushes off the ground, we'll go 0.226, and then cycles right back through, lands at 6.0, right? So he's got 0.34 turnover time, which is great, right? That means he's picking up a lot of distance per step, especially for his height. Okay, we could maybe get that down. We've seen Tyson Gay, who's, similar height. He's down to like 0.30, right? But then that could end up sacrificing some of the distance that he gets per step. So again, so clean, right? And I like Fred Curley a lot too in terms of how he's running. He's a little bit more bent in the knees, right? When he's going through. Noah Lyles is another one that has such great clean foot contact. I mean, he just has unbelievable knee flexion when he's going through. So, I mean, that was just a loaded field for the men's side. Now we'll look at the women's, right? And what stands out to me with the women's, right, and this is something that we just recently talked about, is, again, going back to the start and how important getting the right fundamentals from the start end up being, right? We could see where Elaine Thompson is within those first 3 steps. Okay, really, really clean first 3 steps. Got a lot of lateral movement, right? Spending very little time on the ground. Okay, it's basically right in line with Sha'Carri Richardson, even though Elaine Thompson's taller, right? Has the same timing. Maybe Sha'Carri's getting her feet down a little bit sooner. Okay, but Elaine Thompson's picking up way more distance per step. Okay, when we're looking at these two. And what happens here is that you can see, and this is what we saw with Usain Bolt as well, is within these first 6 steps, look at how straight the leg is when their feet are hitting the ground. And this is where, from a mechanical perspective, it almost becomes like, to be honest, it becomes a little frustrating. Because when talking to guys and going over mechanics with guys, to continue to see some of the mistakes that end up being made, to me, is just like, I don't fully understand it. I don't fully comprehend it because I see what needs to be done, and I guess I can replicate it a little bit easier. I think that the learning curve, I guess, for me isn't as steep, and maybe it's because I love speed, I love track, I love, being able to work on the development there. But, I see a lot of people that have a hard time being able to get into these extension positions early on in the race. Right, and we could see, again, I mean, all these women are in a really good place with their legs. Maybe a little bit too bent here, but overall, she's in a good spot still because she's still leaning forward. And I mean, I guess her feet are getting a little bit too high, right? So she's getting stuck in her drive phase a little bit there and ends up getting caught because of that, right? So when you start to get your feet too high too early, then as you start to rise up, then you end up having this issue where your body momentum is just so far forward that you're not able to land with that foot underneath you as well, right? You're going to be landing a little bit further back in your feet. So you can see the difference in where Elaine Thompson is landing, right? And how well she is with her, or how good she is with her foot underneath the hip. Okay, and those end up being critical, right? So now we can see her top speed. And the same type of thing with Sha'Carri Richardson. Right? At the end of the day, like, I still don't love her start, and I still think she can get a lot better with that drive phase. But as she gets to her top speed, right, she has a very, very clean top speed, and this isn't even one of her better races to me. I think she still has more in the tank here, right? We've seen her get to her top speed more effectively and really be able to run away from people. And I know this is a more challenging field, right? There's some better competitors here. But I still think she could do a better job of being able to stay consistent with her overall mechanics, right? And be able to finish through with a better time and better overall performance, okay? But, obviously Elaine Thompson here is just absolutely killing it in a lot of ways. Take a look back here. And you can just see, look at how far back she's pulling those hands, right? As she's getting to her top speed, she gets full extension within her hands, full extension within her arms. and maintaining that foot. Look at where her foot's landing and how well she's able to control that motion. So you see how that toe ends up coming up and then she strikes down towards the ground, right? There's no reaction in that, right? She hits the ground, boom, stabilizes, push right back off, right? That's what we want to get to. That's what we want to be able to understand. If we got to be able to, slow it down a little bit to be able to get that feeling, I say do that, right? We still want to be able to work top speed. You still want to be able to work at that, 90% and above, right? So then we can understand that turnover, build that core strength, build that timing within our arms, within our legs. But we also want to be able to run and have almost that bounding action where we're landing and able to effectively stabilize and hit right back off the ground, right? And this is again where I see, Sha'Carri Richardson, I almost feel like she kind of lost it a little bit at the end. She's getting so much external rotation in her body from right to the right side. And so as she can continue to work and be able to restabilize the spine and make it so she can get that same type of motion happening on the left side, then we're going to see some great numbers from her as well. I still think that she has a lot more to learn from a mechanical perspective, and I'm excited to see how she's going to continue to develop. So yeah, as always, guys, thanks for watching these videos. I appreciate it. Again, I'm sorry for the delay here, but hopefully the content and the information will end up taking over for that delay, right? We'll end up replacing the delay. But yeah, if you like the information, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, leave those down below. As always, I'd love to hear what you guys think about some of the comments that I made. I'd love to be able to talk about some things in regards to mechanics, what you guys think about, Sha'Carri Richardson, Elaine Thompson, some of the other people that are on both the women and the men's field. We had a star-studded field on both of those, women's and men's. I'm so curious to see how the World Championships are going to end up. Primarily with Elaine Thompson and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, that's going to end up being more of what I'm interested in on the women's side, to be honest. I want to see how that ends up going. But the men's side, there's so many great competitors. It's going to be great to see, who ends up winning that. And I'd love to hear who you guys think is going to end up winning that. And then as always, if you guys want to check out some of the programs, you can down below in the description. I would be happy to help you guys out with your own sprinting mechanics. I think that is a huge advantage that a lot of you guys can take advantage of, is going and getting breakdowns and getting a coach that could really look at your mechanics. So a lot of coaches are going out there and can, write out sprinting workouts and work on your ply, blah, 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 blah. But really being able to look at the mechanics and being able to work on that is something that I think is unique to what we're doing. And, having a coach to be able to really understand and explain that to you, I think is an invaluable tool that you could utilize to be able to help you in getting to the next level. So again, thanks for watching. Click to subscribe, like the video, leave some comments. I'll talk to you soon.